I'm trying to make a green screen turntable. This will allow me to create some very cool B-roll where I can get rid of the background and have my object floating in space, or just have my object floating against a white background. I got the finest $13 filament that Amazon had. It's a Elegoo neon green, and we're gonna give it a go. So we got our filament loaded up in the printer, and we got our parts printing, but we had a few issues with some of these parts. First issue that we had was the motor has two flats on the shaft, and there was supposed to be a mating hole in the platter, but the mating hole was way too small and it wasn't even close to being able to fit. So I fired up the soldering iron and I heated that motor shaft a lot more than what's shown in this video, but I also kind of opened up the hole a little bit with the soldering iron, and then once that motor shaft was pretty hot, I just went ahead and pressed that in there, and it fits great now. The next problem is these two holes for the motor mount screws are too small, so I had to go ahead and drill those out, but that wasn't a big deal, and those screws go right in now. So we got all the components off the 3D printer, and I'm just going ahead and assembling everything. These screws that I'm using are actually wood screws and they're self-tappers, so that's why I didn't tap any of the holes. It does pretty well in plastic, and for what this is, it's not going to fall apart. Now here's where the major problem comes in. That little stepper motor that I'm using just doesn't have enough torque to overcome the rolling resistance of the bearing. I'm going ahead and take the whole thing apart now, and we got to remake some parts. One thing I think I'm going to do to try and fix the lack of torque issue is I think I'm going to try and turn this into a planetary gear set. So stay tuned to see how that turns out, and if you got any other ideas, leave them in the comments.